Welcome to a new Webflow tutorial here on this Formburg channel. My name is Jonas Arlet and today we are going to build an infinite looping vertical marquee section. And I use this on my homepage to just show all the names of the latest attendees of my Webflow online course. And to make this a little bit more interesting, I implemented a box on top to show some symbols out of my Formburg logo. I also made you a free clonable of this project. Just click the link in the video description and there you find a dark one and a brighter version. And there you can see I used images just looping or autoplaying in a Webflow slideshow. And I think this is just a nice little detail to make this whole section more interesting. So let's start by inserting a section template. Let's unlink it from the component and we call this one carousel names, maybe vertical. Inside we have my page padding and container and a spacer, which is fine. Let's use another div, names component. So later I will use the whole section on different pages. So I think a component div around it is good. And another div, names wrapper. And here we can use the collection list and connect it, in my case, to the testimonials, because there I have all the names, not name, text block. There I have all my names from the attendees of my Webflow online course. And I think it would be nice if the latest, so in this case created on newest to oldest, so my latest attendees will see their names on my website, and I will limit this one to 15, so I have the new ones on top. Then we have the wrapper, and we can style this a little bit so we can see what we do. Let's give it a background, a bright background color. Let's use maybe a border radius of MD. And give it a height, in my case 90 SVH, minimum height maybe of 45 EM. You can also use REM, and my whole project is in EM, so I use this one. And maybe a max height of 65, so it doesn't go too large. I think with other words it will still be a nice effect, but in my case I think this is good to show just the names. And to style them we use carousel names, maybe name. Let's give it a bolder font type, semi-bold, use a dark font color and center it, make it all caps, and maybe the line height, reduce the line height a little bit. And for the font size, most people would use like a VW for a bigger type like this. But the problem in my case here is that we have a container large around it, and this container has a max width. And let's go to the preview and you see what will happen. So if the container here stops growing, the type is still going larger because maybe the browser window is going larger or the user has a large display. And this is not what I want. In my case, I want the font to stop growing if the container stops growing. And therefore we can use custom property here, which is called, I think it is container style, no, container type, and inline size should be the right name. And then we can use another unit, which is called, I think Webflow hasn't added it here, no. We can use the custom field and use maybe 10 or 11, and then it's called container query width. So it looks for the container which has inline size, and then we go into the preview and see if this is working. And then if we grow, and the container stops growing, the font also stops growing and it doesn't go too large. And if we go smaller, the font is like VW, just gets smaller and smaller. And this is, in my case, the best option. Then I saw another problem that all the words are going outside of our little window here, so we can use overflow clip in this case, should crop the names right here, and maybe also use on the carousel names break, no wrap, so it doesn't go on the next line. And if we have larger names like this one, I think it would be a nice effect to fade out the names. Therefore we can use a div block, let's call it overlay, make it position absolute. Let's see if we have the wrapper set to relative. No, so this should be set to relative. And then we can use the overlay with set index of 1 and use a gradient. This one should be from a color. Let's add the same color like in the background, which is easy with the CSS variables. And we go maybe here on the 15%, and then on the 85, we go to another transparent color, and then we can add the background color again. So we can fade out the names if they go too large. This is maybe a nice little detail. For the vertical scrolling marquee effect, we use a little bit of custom CSS, and to my German Webflow community, you'll find this code in my Webflow trick box. And there we have a vertical scrolling CSS snippet, which we can insert here into a custom embed field. Just insert it here, and this is the name of the animation. It goes from 0 in the vertical X to minus 100%. Maybe this is a little bit too fast. We can use 60 or 50 seconds. Let's copy the data carousel name, and remember vertical. Save it, give it a carousel custom CSS. Let's put it up there. And then we can basically use it on the, maybe collection wrapper. Add the custom attribute, insert it, and make it vertical. And this should start the marquee. The problem is if the words or the 15 words are ending, then there is an empty section. Like it doesn't look like in a carousel. So therefore we have just like wrap this into a div. So we can use or make a component out of this. Carousel names vertical, and then we can like just duplicate this one, and all the names are repeating itself, and this should feel like an infinite loop marquee. And the last part of this tutorial should be the little box on top of all the words. In my case, I will insert symbols out of my logo form here. But I think in the clonable, I will just use random images, and you can also insert other words or icons or whatever. And let's build a box inside, not inside of the wrapper, but inside of the component. Let's add a div, give it a name of carousel name box. We could use maybe 15 EM in size. Give it position absolute, and it should be orienting on the component parent element, and this one should also be like center all the childs. So the content box should be like above all the others, and the carousel names wrapper, maybe let's give this 100% so it fills the component parent element. And now can we see the box? No, it's here. Let's give it a accent color and also a border radius of maybe SM, MD, AMD. Okay, and for a better look, we can also use a good looking drop shadow. Where is it? Box shadow. Outside, maybe use 3 and 2 EM. Make it a little bit darker, so it looks like all the words are going behind the box. Inside of the box, I go to my Figma file, because here I have all the forms from my logo, and we can use, just as an example, use random letters here, and I copy as SVG, and then I open the SVG importer, place it here, click inside, and just Command V and paste the icon inside of the box. And then we can give it a name of box SVG, make it the dark font color, and then we want a little bit space around it. Give the box a 2 EM padding, and this would be one letter. And if we want to loop all the letters, I think we can use just a simple slideshow from Webflow. I think this is enough functionality. Carousel names slider, give it 100%. Let's delete the background color, give it a transparent one, and also hide the arrows. I have a predefined class here to hide elements, which is basically just display none. And then we can use the icon inside of one of these slides. So, and in the next slide, we want another form. Maybe it's G. Copy as SVG. Click inside of the app, paste it in, and give it a name, the same name. And then we can like duplicate this one and go and grab a third one, copy as SVG, delete this one, and paste the third icon. Give it the same class. And to loop all the icons inside, we go to the carousel parent, go to the settings, make the autoplay slide, give it maybe a duration of 500 milliseconds. Also make the duration of 0, so we don't want to have a fade effect between the slides. And let's see if this works. Yeah, this works. If at some point you want to stop the infinite scrolling marquee from looping, you can just go into the component and like go to the attribute and delete the value, and this will stop the marquee from scrolling, and then you can insert the name again, and then it starts looping again. It's a pretty nice little effect, which you can find in the free clonable linked in the video description.